Association website. Here's Patrick Gannon.
Thank you, John. And again, welcome here to the fifth in the series of optimal living presentations here. And I just wanted to quickly welcome you. As John mentioned, we will be doing videotaping, and we will be putting up on our website all these the slides for most of the presenters, and then we make the videos available through our YouTube channel. We will be having a panel for questions and answers at the end this afternoon. And so what we do is invite you to write down any questions you have. On the tables there should be little cards and pens so you can write down the questions, and then when we get to the panel session, we'll come around and pick up the questions, and then John as the moderator will ask the panel for those questions. So throughout the day, as we're going through the different presentations, a thought or a question comes to mind, jot it down and then put it together for the end there. And so we'll go through the quick outline for the day. You see how the program's there in front of you. We invite you to meet with the vendors and also with the speakers during the breaks. Logistic-wise, please silence any mobile devices so we don't get interrupted with that. In fact, let me double check. Or else make sure we got it on silence, okay? And for you, the restrooms, you go out the door here to the right, about third chandelier down to the right is where the restrooms are there. And just as a quick aside, people have been asking us, why are we here? What is this all about? And the conversations we have has been oriented around the theme of this about Get Well Sarasota. And we'll be talking further about how we do that, but the general concept is one of how do we get well, not high, and allow people to integrate cannabis components into your own personal health and wellness programs. So that's kind of the objective of what brought this about, and objective for today, and then how do we have an ongoing conversation after that. So we invite you to listen, ask questions, and enjoy the day, enjoy the food. In fact, we'll have a bar later, but thank you very much. And here's John McCarthy.
All right, so I think it'd be great if our speakers would go ahead and join me up here at the head table, and that way everyone can get to know you a little bit better as the morning goes through. I have a couple of different roles here today. One of my roles is to introduce all the speakers. One of my roles is to keep everyone on time. We have a very rigorous time schedule. If any of the speakers hear this, it's time to wrap up. And then wherever you are, we're going to wrap you up and move on to the next. So please be conscious of your time. We want to be respectful of all the time. And at the end of the day, we have the Q&A session, the opportunity to converse with all the speakers. And so we definitely want to make sure we save enough time for that. This is my fifth Downtown Sarasota Condominium Association forum that I've had the opportunity to be involved in, and I'll tell you a little bit more about that story as part of my program. I'd like to thank all of our sponsors that are here today. We've got Alderman Oaks and Cornerstone Life Care. We've got Balance Bio. We've got Centennial Bank, Center for Brain Health, Youthful Aging Home Health. We have Compassionate Cannabis Clinic, Curaleaf, Friendship Centers, Lighthouse Property Management, Mindful Medicinals, Nature Zone, Nursing Styles, Second and Seed, Seniors Blue Book, Smile Sarasota, Certera Wellness, True Leave, and Your CBD Store. We could not do this without the sponsors. Let's hear it for each and every one of them. We're happy to be back at the Ritz-Carlton Sarasota. They've taken care of these forums in the past. They're taking good care of us today. The other responsibility I have this morning is to run the technology here and keep the programs going. So that's one, if you know me well, you're probably laughing at that. But we'll see how that goes. We have an interesting format for the Q&A. We don't pass the microphone out in the audience. What we do is we take questions from you, and we typically have 3x5 cards for those questions. And I don't know if we have 3x5 cards out here. We do. Bridget has them right there, 3x5 cards. If you have a question that develops during the course of the presentations today, and if that question is not answered by the speakers themselves, then I will take that question and I will pose that question to the speakers as part of the Q&A session. In every example for the prior 4 workshops, we've been able to get through every single question, and that's certainly our goal today. So let me do my first little transition here with the technology so that we can make sure I know what I'm doing here, and then I'd like to start up a little program that will give you an understanding of how it is that the Downtown.Sarasota Condominium Association got to the point where they are hosting what the program that we have here today on medical cannabis. And so this is really a legacy of optimal living. It's 5 years of community enrichment, and these are the little flyers for each of those different ones. And these are the people that are kind of behind this thing at the get-go. Don Fitz with Cornerstone, Patrick Gannon, the president of Downtown Sarasota, and Bridget Spees, who's a wonderful friend of mine who always makes me feel happy to be here as your master of ceremonies. So these are the folks that got us involved. If we were to look back at the history of this, there used to be an organization in Sarasota called SCOPE, Sarasota County Openly Plans for Excellence. They hosted a session called the Winter Forum on Positive Aging, which took place from 2007 to 2011. And then SCOPE actually birthed, with the help of the Patterson Foundation, a program called Aging with Dignity and Independence. And then the Patterson Foundation also was involved, as well as SCOPE, with the founding of the Institute for the Ages, which was a nonprofit organization here in Sarasota that offered programs like this about positive aging from 2013 to 2014. They then found that they were a little bit ahead of their time. That organization closed, and Downtown.Sarasota.Condo.Association kind of picked things up in 2015. The first session that we had was Optimal Aging, Life Planning, Aging in the Right Place Forum. We talked about how the community could be designed for more pedestrian activity and things for positive aging. We talked about universal design with Greg Hall, talking us about how we could make our homes better for us to live in. We heard from Kathy Black, who is kind of the resident gerontologist here in Sarasota and also associated with Age Friendly Sarasota. And Tom Barwin, the city manager, chatted with us. We had a representative of Sarasota Pines telling us about what's the alternative to aging in your home. And then we had Ellen Hirsch DeHaan, who was an attorney who frankly should be at McCurdy's Comedy Club every weekend. She taught us more about sexually transmitted diseases amongst the aging than anything we'd ever known about before. Our next session was in 2016. The focus was on brain health. We had presentations on cognitive aging and what goes on in our brain. We had Representative Ross Camp tell us the latest science of how sugar and bad food and lack of exercise and lack of sleep is driving the Alzheimer's to an unbelievable rate. We had Peggy Saffron tell us about how stress is killing us and how we can get the stress out of our life. Dr. Wasson told us about how if we don't have good hearing, we're going to get dementia. So we really need to pay attention to our hearing, because poor hearing leads to dementia. Nikki Kobritz, who's a sponsor with us today and actually is one of our more frequent speakers, told us all about the latest research and what's going on with brain health. And then Kathleen Housewart told us all about what's going on in the health and human services world when it comes to positive aging. The next conference we focused on the built environment. Again, what was going on in Sarasota at large with Kathy Black. Plans that the city of Sarasota had, Tom Barwin. We had Jamie Minton come from the Young Professional Group and quiz us on what it is to be a millennial. And this was an amazing presentation because aging isn't just about folks being old, it's about multi-gen type of stuff, and that was pretty cool. Hedda Mazda Houghton caused us all to ask ourselves, what in the world, how are we prioritizing our time, and are we doing the things that are important to us? And she has the potential to change your life. Greg Hall came back, talked about universal design again. And then we had representatives of Gulf Coast Builders Exchange and the Chamber of Commerce come and chat with us about what they're doing in this aspect of making the community a better place to live. And again, lots of great sponsors. The last session we had kicked off with Dr. Chippy Naluri, who told us about not just slowing down diabetes and heart disease, but reversing it with exercise, with food, with rest, and with stress relief. It was amazing. Jill Edwards talked about the same thing, how we can not stem diabetes, but actually reverse it. Denise Craigle taught us how to meditate, and that's part of that stress reduction and positive living. And then Matthew Edlund, who came to talk with us about sleep and the role that that has, also talked about all these other aspects of the 5 healthy habits that go into a positive life. And then Nikki Kobritz, once again, telling us the latest, greatest research in terms of all the different things that are impacting our brain and the types of strategies that we can use to protect our brain, because by protecting our brain, we protect our life and our lifestyle. Monica Bolberg came and gave us quite a bit of information about examples of specific patients and what they had gone through. And then Dr. Ronald Ongdin, this was our first presentation on medical cannabis, and he came in and basically stood at this podium and said, if you told me 5 years ago I was going to be prescribing medical cannabis for my patients, I'd have told you you're nuts. But things changed with him, and he did an amazing program. Talked about how between 1850 and 1941, medical cannabis was the most commonly prescribed medicine in the United States of America. In fact, the first national conference on medical cannabis occurred in 1860. But then after Prohibition ended, ATF didn't have anything to do. They made marijuana illegal. Ultimately, a Schedule I drug, no research done, Big Pharma takes over, and marijuana is not available to us until the last couple of years. And then we have Renee Laguerre from Trulieve tell us about all the different dispensing techniques. This is where my head started to spin. And today, we're back. So that's how we got there. We started out talking about positive aging, positive lifestyle, how to make the community better, and we've landed with this. Now, I want to show you an example here. We got Patrick Gannon. He listened hard last time, and he did a little research himself and started doing a little medical cannabis therapy, and he found a strain that instead of giving him the munchies, gave him the opposite. It reduced his appetite. He's lost 45 pounds. He says he's thinking better, he's behaving differently, he's a different guy, all because of this. So he's a testament to it, and he believes in it, and that's what we're up to. So we got 4 years, almost 5 years of community engagement. I really appreciate what the Downtown.Sarasota.Condo.Association has done with this. Hundreds of engaged attendees, 38 exceptional presentations, 31 amazing experts, dozens of generous sponsors, 5 informative forums. That's what that legacy is all about. So we are here today to continue that legacy, to help inform the community as to what you can do to help take control of your life.